And we are live. I would like to welcome everyone to the Muzzle is Off podcast. I am your host, Nakia Monet, and I have a couple of special guests with me here today as we continue to unpack the topic of human sexuality. And one of the ways in which we are tackling the topic of human sexuality is we are dealing with it from a sociological standpoint. And today's topic, we're going to, unpack it in a way of what we believe, how we believe, our belief system, our belief structures, what we've been taught. And we're going to unpack this a little slowly because there's so many different layers to human sexuality, and there's so many different layers to how it can actually shape us based on what we believe. And I think that it's imperative that we begin to unpack this. And I think that it's imperative that we begin to talk about this. And it's important that we talk about this because in the state that we are in today, with a lot that has been going on, some of us have been asking a major question, which is, where is the church? And oftentimes, when we want to ask the question of where is the church, we don't understand why in certain realms the church can be quiet. And it's not every church, but it's certain churches that are actually quiet. And part of the reason why they are quiet is because of the fact that sometimes when you truly begin to peel back the layers of your belief system, you begin to realize that there were some things that were taught that just were not, it wasn't sound, right? And so when things are taught that are not sound, we're not able to effectively provide assistance. We're not able to effectively provide guidance. We're not able to effectively provide leadership. So one of the areas that I know the church struggles in is human sexuality. And part of the reason why the church struggles in human sexuality is because of how the church believes human sexuality comes about. A lot of the biblical doctrine will tell you that human sexuality is a gift from God. It is God-given. It is something that was created in order to glorify God. It was something that was created for the joy of God's creation. And it was something that was created in order to further the advancement of the population, right? So oftentimes when you view human sexuality from a biological standpoint or a standpoint of biology, you're only going to view it in the context and in the realm of man and woman. That's it. But when you view it in the realm of sociology, you begin to understand that there are other mitigating factors that play into human sexuality. And I want to talk about that today in the context of how your beliefs can actually shape your sexuality. And sometimes it can be a tad bit hindering. Sometimes it can be a tad bit confusing. Sometimes it can actually be harmful. Sometimes it can cause a variations of emotions within men and women alike. And I think that it's imperative that we begin to discuss this because it can be crippling if it's not understood properly. So that's how I want to preface this. That's how I want to open this up. I really just want to open this up by saying, in my personal opinion, you cannot discuss human sexuality just from a point of biology. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. What are y'all's takes on it? Don't laugh at me, Marcus.
Well, I believe that once we really get to know ourselves, then we can really get to know who God is. We are created in His image and in His likeness. So when we begin to get to know ourselves, it gives us a glimpse into who He is. And unfortunately, like you have said, history has kind of put us in a place where our sexualities have been uh, basically mind controlled throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand that they like what they like because they were taught to like what they like, and then they were taught what was wrong and what was right. And I think that's very it's very troubling because we are not all the same people. So we cannot all have a cookie cutter um response to sexuality, because we all are unique imprints of God here on the earth. So there's something unique about the way my sexuality is expressed rather than how another's sexuality is expressed. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to really go about getting to know who we are. And as we get to know who we are, we get to know who God is. And the other point that I would make, I guess, is when we begin to see how sexuality is outside of a Christian construct, we will begin to see that it looks a little different. It looks a little bigger. And with when we really begin to think through and sift through the information that is
Mm-hmm.
provided, you we start to see that, dang, I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that I was allowed this type of room, this type of permission. Because even scripture says, you know, um, there's a scripture that says, I'm coming with it right now. The scripture that says, all things are lawful, but not expedient.
Right.
Which gives you the thought that there are a whole lot of things that I could do. Some of it may not be too smart to do, but there is freedom to operate. There is freedom to get to know who I am. There's freedom to get to know exactly how I can navigate my life in my sexuality as well. So that scripture is one. Then you have another scripture that talks about the bedroom is undefiled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and of course we will tell our people, because we understand. From a Christian standpoint, that means if you marry, that your bedroom is undefiled, and you can enjoy yourself in the way that you wish to express yourself. You know, and so I think that the question that I grew up thinking about was, well, if sex was the marriage, because without consummation, you're not married. If you do not consummate that marriage, in the Bible, you're not married, and in out here in regular secular society, they do not consider you married until you consummate the marriage. So if the sex is what makes you married, then my question was, why is it that I'm being held back until I receive a piece of paper? And that was a question I struggled with as a child, you know. And so much to say about it. So much to say about it, because there are so many things that we fail to question. I think in Christendom, we've come to a place where we put fear in people to question what is in our norm. And a lot of times our norms are not our natural state. There's a difference between normal and natural.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we understand that and begin to realize that there are certain things that naturally I like to do, but because it's natural to me, it may not be normal for others. You know what I'm saying? Of course, that definitely excludes anything to do with children. That pedophile stuff goes out the door. That pedophile stuff goes out the window.
But does
If
it?
that is No, it goes out the window. As in this, If this is something that you have and you feel like this is a natural inclination, then we need to, at least in today's society, in order to protect you, we need to make sure that you understand that it is not accepted, and there has to be a way to deal with it. There has to be a way to curb that natural inclination that you may have, because it is no longer acceptable in today's society.
In today's society, and I think so, and I'm happy that you just said that, in today's society, because this is where my thought process is going, right? In today's society, pedophilia is not tolerated, right? Pedophilia is a crime, right? But when you truly study the context of religion, and this goes beyond Christianity, although you were a child, it was lawful for you to lay with a man because you were a virgin, and it didn't go by necessarily what we consider in today's society a legal age of consent, right? They didn't have that. So what we have is what's been embedded within our belief system and within our belief structure is something that in today's society is not acceptable, but it was based on our belief system, right? So now what we have is we have issues within our belief system and within our structure, because what's not acceptable today based on the terms in which we believe it was acceptable was past tense. And now we're saying it's not acceptable, but is it not possibly a way that something was released where there are people, men and women alike, that believe that this is acceptable, because we have a culture within religious structures that believe that it's okay for them to rape young women, it's okay, and young boys, that it's okay for them to molest young women and young boys, that it's okay for them to do those things until they get caught. Because then once they're caught, it's have mercy on me and forgive me. But while the act is actually being performed, it's okay. Is this acceptable? Because, there was that case of that young girl. Where was she at? I believe she was in Ohio. She was. I saw her on the Tamron Hall show, where the pastor basically passed her around to multiple other pastors, and she was a teenager. And it was okay for him until he got caught, and then he wanted the judge to have mercy on him because he had children and a wife. But that's not okay. You hear there are so many other cases that are going on even today. And it brings me back to my understanding of how in today's culture and in today's society, how we were indoctrinated into Christianity. And quite possibly it could be the fact that due to this indoctrination, as perverted and twisted as it was, that some of that spirit is yet still lingering on within the confines of some of our religious leaders today. And that's why I say it is important in order to discuss human sexuality as it relates to what you believe, because some of this belief is perverted and it's disgusting and it's nasty and it's forming impure, perverted, and nasty sexuality within people that then takes them years to heal from, because daddy raped me, mommy raped me, this one abused me, somebody did this, somebody else did that, this one committed adultery, this one lived a lifestyle of fornication, this one. And what we fail to realize is that all of that shapes how we view ourselves. All of it. And it shapes how we think, it shapes how we feel, it shapes our emotions. All of these things shape, and then we're wondering why. Why is there a spirit of homosexuality? Why is there a rape culture in the church? Why is there a molestation culture in the church? Why is there why is there a bigamist culture in the church? Why do these things go on within the confines of religious systems, and we make it this is acceptable?
So I will say it's not acceptable. I will also add to that it's not just in religious circles, it's everywhere. One of the dangers of introducing sexuality too early is confusion. Why?
Confusion.
Because
Mm-hmm.
sexuality brings on a wide spread of emotions. Sexuality has the ability, as we said last week, to drive us. And we do know that anything that we don't have a sound knowledge and foundation in, then we are capable to pervert it, which means we take something good and we make a mess of it.
Yes.
So in my opinion, you know, I'm going to be like, oh, it's not just a church thing. This is a world thing.
It is.
Our culture is saturated with sexuality. You can see how our culture is driven by sexuality. And we brought up a good point. When do we hear a message about sexuality? We hear a message about prosperity. We'll hear a message about people getting married, but we don't have these messages about sexuality. And also to that, and I can't say that's everybody, that's specific to some people. Everyone has different experiences. Also, a lot of people don't know enough about themselves to be dabbing in sexuality. Um, One of the things that I've come to find is that uh, people who are struggling with a spirit, they have identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, they have masks. And any person you find have masks, they'll have some type of deviant fantasy of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot that goes into sexuality. There's a good side, and there's a bad side, and that bad side has a lot of tunnels, as well as the good has a lot of tunnels. Sexuality is a beautiful thing. In religion, outside of religion, the fact that it could possibly lead to you experiencing the very thing that God did, creating another human being. That is a wonderful thing. But understand, for the people who are not religious, they ascribe to different beliefs. To every yin, there's a yang. To every one side of quarter, there's another side of quarter. There are some people out here because they don't have a good identity of themselves. They don't know themselves. They haven't processed what they've been through. They have deviant fantasies. And those deviant fantasies could be based off a lot of things, power and control. The thing that they experienced was a loss of power and a loss of control. And so therefore, their thing in life is to regain that power and to regain that control, understanding that if they didn't have somebody to walk them through it, they might relive that deviant fantasy and project that on someone else. That is happening today. It's happening in schools. It's happening in politics. It's happening in the church. It's happening at the mall. It's happening everywhere. Some people have not dealt with their issues. Some people don't even know that they have issues. And until we as healthy human beings realize that sexuality is something that we're going to have to face and we're going to have to teach.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can have boundaries to what we teach because, like I said, sexuality can propel us to a number of places, and it's not healthy based on your age. You should only be exposed to it slowly. But I can tell you, in my house, my mom wasn't talking about no sexuality. Noonday prayer, all night prayer. Uh, get on your knees and pray. You better close your mouth in church. We weren't talking about sexuality. Why?
But how did that help you shape your own sexuality? Not talking about sexuality, not having the openness of the discussion about it. How did it shape your view of yourself?
Naive. I was naive.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the things that I've experienced now, I wish my mom would have put even more tighter reins on me. Because when I found I was naive, so I started wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I started wrong. And you know what? When you start something and it feels good to you, it's hard to stop. And back in our days, you know, if your parents wanted to correct you, they was correcting you with a belt. Like, wait, hold up, mom. I just like certain things. I don't need all that.
Right. This is natural and this is normal, but in the confines of belief systems, it wasn't.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about, because there are certain things that in the confines of a belief system were not typically normal. It wasn't normal for you to feel what you felt. It wasn't normal for you to act on what you felt. It wasn't okay. It wasn't okay. And the thing about it is that at the end of the day, this is what's important, because it shapes you for your future. If I don't know how I am to feel concerning myself, and I go through life experiences, those experiences have a way of shaping how I'm going to turn out eventually. And then I got to guide myself back to a center point of where I should be, right? Because now I done experienced a whole bunch of crap. And that's what I'm talking about, because if we don't fully begin to unpack human sexuality, what drives your emotions, what drives your feelings, how did you grow up within your own personal belief system, okay, to say, what is this? I didn't grow up in a church, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't, we were Catholic growing up. We went to services every Sunday, 45 minutes, and we was done with it. It was over. It was a wrap. We was done. You know what I'm saying? So I was not raised in the confines of religion. I was raised in the confines of, we believe in God, and we believe in the Virgin Mary. We believe Jesus is the Son, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to take communion. You're going to get christened, because we didn't call it baptism, we call it christening. You're going to get christened, and this is it. And that was religion for me for a very long time, until I got introduced into what we call the Black church world. And what I will say is, being introduced into the Black church world as an adult, I completely can understand why my grandmother sheltered me from it as a youth, because it was one of those things that she refused to allow us to go to what we call the Black church. It wasn't allowed. She refused. She didn't allow it. We went to the good Catholic church, and that's it. 45 minutes and we was out. Although as you get older, you begin to realize that even the Catholic church had a whole lot of crap going on, with the molestations, with the rape, with the Catholic orphanages, which were 9 times out of 10 filled with children from them good nuns, because taking a vow of what they call that?
Celibacy.
That they go vow of celibacy. It ain't work right for everybody, Neither did it work for the priests. But when you look at that and you look at how they had to express their sexuality in secret, you understand what I'm saying? Even, I never forget, one of my coworkers years ago, she was a Muslim lady, and she always wore, all the full garb and everything. But she used to tell me that under them garbs, she'd be naked. And I never could understand that, because I'm like, you out in public naked under your garbs, like you're not scared of bugs like flying up in you, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But for her, that was her way of still feeling like a woman. I'm going to be naked up under all of this covering that I have on. And this is what I'm going to do. When you have to express your sexuality in private and in secret. And that's actually viewed upon as something that is very positive, right? Because, we shouldn't show our outward expression of our sexuality. It should be done in private. It should be something. You should be modest when you're in public. You should be covered up from head to toe when you're in public, but we have to understand what that begins to do to a person when they get older, and now they're seeing certain things and they're learning certain things, and it's not lining up. And that's what I'm talking about. There are some things that literally just were not lining up. And Corey, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. So this is what we're talking about today. We are literally talking about sexuality. And like I said, I'm not dealing with this from a standpoint of biology. I'm dealing with this from a standpoint of sociology. And the reason why is because we understand biology. Everyone always wants to talk about biology, but we never fully understand the social construct of sexuality. And by definition, how a sociologist will define sexuality is it says that it describes a sexual identity, attraction, and experience which may or may not align with sex or gender. And we don't want to deal with that, and we don't want to understand where that can come from. We only want to deal with, especially in religion, we just want to, and that's any religious belief, we just want to deal with man and woman, and we only want to ascribe to man and woman, and we don't want to understand that sometimes sexuality is not just based on biology. Somebody's vibrating.
If I can add, I think that it comes to a point where, and you and I had this conversation many times, when do we bring up the other side of the coin, where you have the LGBT, the homosexuals, that for me, on the standpoint from church, we go to church, we see them in our churches, we tell them they can't have a say, they can't do anything because of what they present or what they put forward in our world. And then now we see where they're getting bashed, they're getting beat up, they're getting hurt because of their sexuality, because of what they present to the world. And it is sad because why is it that we only look at one thing when it's male and female? These are people who are human, who cry, who hurt, who bleed, who use the bathroom just like we do. Of course, I'm a preacher, and I'm going out on a limb. When do we learn to just love humanity, love people for who they are, and learning to just let them be at the space that they at? My auntie always used to say, let people be who they are long enough. Sooner or later, they're either going to change or they're going to continue to be who they are. And I think that we have put the cap on so much in the church world that we forget that these are people too, and we miss the focus of loving people. Sometimes you just got to love them for who they are. There were people who were on the other side of the coin in the Bible. And we pick different scriptures to try to say this and say that, but they're here. What are we going to do? And then we have secrets. We have people who live these secret lives, and they get put on blast and things of that nature. But what do? Are we going to just leave it to the other side and just, condemn them and hurt them? Because, okay, I might not be gay, but I got other stuff that I got going on. Sexually, I might sleep around. I might be promiscuous. I might try to go and sleep with this girl, sleep with the keyboard player, sleep with the missionary, sleep with the pastor's daughter.
You ain't sleeping with the missionary. The devil is a lie.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? But that's how it is. I mean, but we don't want to talk about these things, but it's in our churches. And I'm taking from a standpoint of church because I'm not in the world. I don't know too much of what's going on in the world, but we have this stuff going on and we don't want to deal with it. We just say, oh, he come outside, sit down. You're set down for 6 months. But I thought about this, and I'm going to preach this about killing our flesh. So I feel like in order to deal with a thing, we got to talk about it. We got to deal with it. We got to deal with it head on. Because if you tell me, Nakia, you're my pastor, you tell me, okay, sit down for 6 months. In my mind, I could get away with everything I just got away with. I could still get away with it again. I'm just going to find new ways on how to do it. You know how to say, the Bible says to repent. Okay, I'm going to turn. I'm just going to turn a different way so that way you can't see me and what I'm doing. And this time I won't be put on blast because I done took those 6 months to try to figure out how I'm going to do my thing behind closed doors that I don't get caught. And I can be transparent. For me, I've been preaching for 16, 17 years. I'm 30 years old. And I slept around. I had sex while preaching and admitted it, got sat down and still did it.
Why y'all
You said
preachers
why?
always why y'all preachers always count the time in which y'all were teenagers that like that count? I just want to understand. Preachers
Well,
always. I've been preaching since I was 5 years old.
well,
I'm
for me,
joking.
because I knew better, and to be honest, I knew better, because I grew up in the church, like you didn't grow up in the church. I grew up in the church. So when you grow up in the church, you know better. It's just, your mother tell you, how you tell you, don't touch that fire. And you're just, I'm curious. Okay, if I touch the fire, what's going to happen?
But
Oh, I
let's
hurt my.
unpack that. What is it that you know? What do you know that's better than someone who didn't grow up in the church?
What I'm saying is, I knew better
No.
as
Understand what
far
I'm
as the
saying.
mistakes.
Understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think that sometimes in the church world, we feel that because we have a book, and please, anybody that's part of the church, do not think I'm disrespecting the Bible by calling it a book, but it is a book, right?
It is. It really is.
That's what it is.
It's
A
a book.
collection of books.
It is. What are you gonna do? You can't argue that. It is a book. Come on.
It's a book, right? Now,
66 of them.
oftentimes,
That's right.
hello, all of them up in there, okay, with a bunch of words, okay? On top of that, there are over 1,000 laws in this book.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Who, at any point in time in their good life, followed all thousands of them laws?
None.
Who? Right?
Nobody.
Right.
The children of Israel couldn't follow them. We knew none of the Gentiles was following them, right? But now we feel that because we read a book, I can now hold up this book and say, oh, okay, you need to follow law 1001. And you broke law 1005. Therefore, I'm going to condemn you because you broke law 1005 and you held on to 1001, but you broke all the other thousands of them, but you know what, you righteous. No, that's not how this works. And that's the problem that I have because of the fact that we make people to feel that where they have fallen short at within their own life, within the own confines of their life, within their own struggles in life, that you've somehow, some way you've made a mistake. Somehow, some way you've missed the mark. Everybody's missed the mark. Everybody's made a mistake. It is normal and it is natural for you to do so. What's not natural is for you to act like my sexuality is unnatural. What's not natural is for you to act like it is a sin for me to think of having sex. Because it's not. It's a very natural thought. Sex is actually a wonderful thing. But sexuality goes even deeper than that. You know what? I know that you better say wonderful, okay? Because it is wonderful.
Wonderful.
It is great.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful thing when it's experienced between whoever, and I'm going to say it like that, whoever, okay? Because when you're dealing with sexuality, you're not dealing with a biblical context of what people claim. Where the truth of the matter is, if you truly study words, homosexuality was not birthed until one of them queens, Queen Victoria, Queen Elizabeth, one of them queens came up with the term homosexuality. It wasn't even thought of in biblical days. So somehow, some way, some words got intertwined and interconnected, and now all of a sudden, you homosexual, that's a sin. The word wasn't formed until after the Bible was already written. That's truth.
Well, can I ask you this question?
Yeah.
And this is for all of us. I said this to you before. God created women, and I'm standing on the stand because I'm not gay, so I can't. I talk about it, but I can't stand on that stance. But God created y'all women, right? For you. Now, what do we as men? What do we do when we get those feelings and emotions? I look at God and be like, "Listen, God, you made her with a nice big butt, with a nice size. It ain't my fault. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna feel feelings and emotions that you gave me these feelings and emotions. So I'm supposed to pray down something that you put inside me to find that good thing, or whatever the case may be, or whatever side of the coin you want, because that's what I'm gonna call it. So if you're on the LGBT, or if you on the whatever side you want, at the end of the day, it comes to you know, are you going to be private about yours? Or are you going to be open? And like I always say, we have to come to a point where our private has to match our public. Because if we're, as the church, if we are learning to be transparent and learning to be honest with people, to let them know that we got feelings and emotions too, a lot of these people wouldn't fall the way that we perceive them to fall. Because we all sin. I sin, you sin. I might drink and smoke cigarettes.
Right.
You might have sex.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say what's what?
Some of them Negroes need not be nowhere in nobody's church, but that's another conversation. That's all right. Go ahead, Jamel. I said it.
Yeah, I just think that
sorry, not sorry.
I think that the main thing is that we realize that sexuality is meant to be enjoyed responsibly.
Right.
You know, we always talk about how it's meant to be enjoyed, but it's meant to be enjoyed responsibly.
And what's the responsible way?
Well, I think that responsibly is that, number one, you try to avoid promiscuity.
Right.
Because promiscuity, it muddies the waters.
It does.
You spread yourself too thin. And once you spread yourself too thin, now you have all these people with different emotions,
right,
wondering what's going on. You've either hurt someone, you've either confused someone, you've either caused someone to be suicidal, you all because you could not be responsible with the sexuality that you had.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, you know, when the Bible talks about fornication, you know, fornication is not really about having sex. Fornication is about promiscuity. Back in the days, there was something going on, and there was something that the king did. The king made a decree, and his decree. This is where we get the word F-U-C-K from. Where we get the word from is it was fornication under the consent of the king. So basically, it was all about the king gave an order for go out there and do what you got to do, because something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something going on where the king had to make a decree for them to go out and be fruitful and multiply. There was a need for them to multiply at the time.
Let me see
that's where promiscuity comes from. I mean, that's where fornication comes from. It's about promiscuity.
What king did this? Better not have been King James with his game.
Well, it was. See, and please, see, I can't remember the king. I'm because I didn't have time to really study like I usually do. I cannot remember the king, but you can look it up. Type in fornication under the consent of the king. Where did it come from? But even when we talk about, let's talk about King James. King James, we the church is so hard on homosexuals and don't realize the man that their Bible is made up from was a flaming. Not only was he a homosexual, this man was so deviant that he killed his own mama. The man. I'm in my head, I'm like, you want to tell us that homosexuality is wrong, but the person who this authorized King James version is from is a homosexual. And not only that, but in Jesus' day, even in those days, there was temple sex of homosexuality, not within a Christian framework, not within a Christian construct, but that's what it was. You know, the word, they might not have been saying homosexual because it probably wasn't a word yet, as you said, but the act was still the same sex happenings, you know? Right. And so my thing is, at the end of the day, no matter what you decide you want to do, where you want to decide what side of the coin you want to fall on, there is a responsibility that you have to navigate sexual matters with responsibility. You have to make sure that you're not hurting others, violating others. You have to make sure that you're not pressing your agenda when the agenda is not consensual.
Right.
These are the responsibilities that we have to follow when it comes down to sexual matters. And I'll say this last thing, and I'll get off. we also have to remember within this social construct, in this social construct, sexuality is controlled for money, for dollars. So whoever is making the choices for us as a society today, because there is a such thing as social engineering.
There is.
Whoever's making the choices for society today is the one. They are the ones who are gearing and directing our sexuality. They are the ones, because when I was a kid, homosexuality was around, but we didn't know what it was. It was just that's a little, I don't know, a little funny. I don't know, but yeah, that's my friend, you know. And you didn't know what it was until when you got older. All of a sudden, it was just this big boom, like it was never there. And I'm like, but it was always there. But someone in society decided to make it big, but decided to make money off of it. And now it's the view of it is so big. Not that homosexuality is big, the view of it is so big that you're like, wow, who knew that all these people have these feelings? You know what I'm saying? But
But here's why. And I think that sometimes what we have to understand is that times change. So when the time changed, because all right, so you know, when you got to do your own little research here. So in 1929, all states decided that, you know what, everybody that want to get married, you need to have a marriage license in order to do so, right? That was 1929. In 1965, the Supreme Court said, you know what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to overturn laws prohibiting couples from using contraceptives, because before, when you were married, it was illegal for you to use contraceptives with your spouse. You could not, right? Now we have, then we go forward, 1969, okay? You started no-fault divorce in California under Reagan, right? Okay, boom. Then you have, in 1973, Maryland becomes the first state to define marriage between a man and a woman. So now we have the actual definition of this is what marriage is, defined by a man and a woman, right? Then you move on. 1994, you got 40 out of the 50 states amend their marriage statuses to outlaw same-sex marriage. Then if you move all the way, because there's so much here with what actually took place. Starting like around 2004 in Massachusetts says, you know, we're going to recognize same-sex, right? Then you move it on forward all the way to 2013. The Supreme Court says, you know what, we are going to overturn the Defense of Marriage Act that what's his name, Clinton put in place, right? Because with DOMA, he defined marriage. This is the Defense of Marriage Act. Boom. The Supreme Court said, no, we're going to overturn that. Then in June of like 2015, you had the Supreme Court then basically say, you know what? It is now federally recognized same-sex marriage federally, meaning that whatever state you were married in, now this is federal, which is what everybody had all their little panties and boxes in a bunch about, and they still have their boxes and panties in a bunch about today concerning that. But if we truly begin to look at what actually transpired over time, people changed. Who are the lawmakers? People. Who makes decisions? People. People's point of view began to change. And the reason why a lot of people's point of view began to change, because if you truly study a lot of the old laws in this country, they were based on a warped biblical perception of what marriage should be, of what sexuality should be, and we began to criminalize people that did not reflect the same thought process as we did, as the so-called heterosexual norm that we wanted to portray out there, right? So now it's like you took these warped biblical principles, turned them into laws, and now you had people being, listen, women did not gain the right to own property of their own until 1900. Women. That had nothing to do with Black people. That was just women, period. And that was white women. Like I said, it had nothing to do with Black people. So when we begin to understand, right, these laws and how things were intertwined, we then begin to understand why we began to socially not accept anything that did not look like what was defined by what the lawmakers considered normal. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not referring to, like when you brought up pedophilia, right? And I said, in today's society, that's not acceptable. But when you take it back in the biblical days, pedophilia was very much so acceptable, right?
Yes, it was.
Which is the reason why we gotta, and I don't care if anybody gets upset, but that's the reason why we got all these pedophiles running around in a lot of our religious structures, okay? And it's just what it is, because the truth of the matter is we have a lot of that in the Catholic Church. We have a lot of that in the Black Church. We have a lot of it in the so-called, what they call that, CCM, the white church. And we have it in Islamic beliefs. You have it in Jewish beliefs. This affects every belief system. This affects.
Don't forget the Jehovah's Witness, because it's heavy there.
They Christian though. I mean, they just believe a little differently, but they still, you know what I'm saying? When you truly studied the Book of Mormon, hell, they didn't allow, they had to rewrite their whole book to allow Black folks in, which is for the life of me something that I never could understand, why a Black person would even join in Mormonism when they had to rewrite their book to allow you in. But that's another topic for another day. Because if you got to rewrite something to allow me in, something is wrong. Like, you ain't gonna call me cursed one day, and then when you saw that my money flows, now you want to accept me in. But like I said, that's another topic for another day. But what I'm saying is this: when we truly study how we believe and how we have allowed that belief system in order to affect how we identify ourselves sexually, human sexuality, what do you attract? What drives you? How are you influenced based on your thought? How do you even feel the motivation to do certain things? It's not just based on a physical attraction. Sexuality is also mental. You know what I'm saying? Some people are not attracted to just the physical physique of a man or a woman. Some folks can care less if you're 300 pounds or if you 150, bulked up. You could be 250 with all the muscles, I'm just saying. But you know what I'm saying? Some people don't care about that. Some people are just straight up attracted to the fact that you're an intellectual, and they don't see gender. They don't necessarily see any of that. So at the same time, when you're raised up into a belief system that basically tells you you're abnormal, because you know what? God created whatever God you want to, Allah, Buddha, whatever. That God created you to be this one type of being. And the minute you're not that type of being, it's a wrap. You are no longer normal. You are no longer a part of us. You can't be a part of us. And you need some type of either exorcism, deliverance, whatever the heck you need, that's what you need, because we got to cleanse you. I never forget, I ran into, I forgot what he believed in, but he was something. But it was nothing like what I ever could believe in life. And part of their ritual was, if you were coming over into their belief, you had to go through like a 30-day cleansing process. To the point where dude was like, yeah, we scrape your skin. I said, see that, let me stop you right there. The minute you try and use a darn a whatchamacallit on my skin, and my skin is soft, sir, we're gonna have a problem, because you ain't gonna have me out here with rough skin looking crazy, having me go through some little, but that's what people believe, because you believe differently than them. So now not only do your insides need to be cleansed out, but so does your outside as well. And like he literally said, they would like you go through a process where they literally scrape your skin. I said, no, people go through that, because I wouldn't go through that. You know what I'm saying? But people went through it because they wanted to cross over into that realm of whatever the heck that stuff was. It was like some I think they had like roots in Africa or something like that, some African spiritual belief system or something like that. He said, I don't really remember it because I couldn't. I don't even think it was that, because it was very different. It was very different than what I was accustomed to. So, but I said all that to say, this is what happens when you begin to ascribe to certain things based on what you believe. Because what they also believed in, and what he was telling me about was that they will all gather around, right? All of them, whoever was in this whole belief thing, they would all literally gather around, and they would allow, right, the ancestors to inhabit their bodies, and then they would all just have sex with everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the ancestors needed to feel sex, because that's what the ancestors. And I was like, I don't know if grandma would want to do that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I don't know about that right there. You know what I'm saying? Because see, in the Christian faith, I was like, that's a demon. I'm not letting no demon inhabit my body, and you over here talking about having sex. And who are you having sex with? And how old are these people that you're having sex with? And what you understand? Because see, my mind goes immediately there. But that's a belief system where it's normal for you to potentially, have sex with a younger person. But we see that a lot where it becomes normal, and it's sick, twisted, and it's perverted.
Right. So everything that you were just saying isn't new. I had the privilege of learning about certain things in music theater, and they were, orgies and festivals for same sex, rite of passages. It's just about in every culture, every race, every creed. And to that, in my opinion, that's what happens when you have something that's beautiful without boundaries. You allow things to become perverted. And that's, we mentioned pedophilia. It won't be long before they add their letter on to the LGBTQ community. Sorry. And that's, if you don't like it, I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. Oh, you can disagree with me now. I've been fortunate enough to work with individuals who might have sexually aggressive behaviors and or tendencies. That's coming. They're calling it, that's their sexuality, that's their culture. And a part of, why certain faiths don't, they struggle with other sexualities or the way people express themselves sexually is because they're afraid of the counterculture. When you have a culture, the biggest threat to your culture is counterculture. Why? Because it has to change. It has the chance to manipulate the culture. So that's why you see stuff demonized. That's why you see stuff like that's abnormal. Why? Because some cultures are not really so secure in themselves that they're afraid of any counterculture.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Jamal.
No, I was just going to say, until religion realizes that culture will always be stronger than religion, there's going to be a problem. Your culture births your religion. Because people were born in the Middle East, they were Muslim. Because we were born here in the Western conferences, we're more Christian. Your culture will always birth your religion. That you were birthed into a religion by your culture. That's number one. Number two, until we become familiar with other people's cultures, we really won't know what the mindset is behind it. A lot of times we speak very ignorantly of other people's cultures and practices because we have no clue of what they do. We don't take time to study. We don't take time to ask questions. We don't take time to say, hey, why do y'all do such and such? When you do that, then you give yourself a basis to make a judgment off of, instead of just being flat out judgmental for no reason. The other part is, we have to be anything that violates is not good. Period. Anything that violates. If anything in my sexual pursuit violates you, then it's wrong. That's where it is. It's about the violation aspect. If this is a consensual thing, then it's going to be an okay thing. If it is not a consensual thing, then you are violating someone's right. You are violating someone's right, and that's why, like I said in my first statement, the scripture says that everything is lawful. It may not be expedient, might not be too smart, might not be your best decision, but everything is expedient. And the thing is, where you begin to draw, where you draw the line is, am I violating your space? Am I violating your right? Am I violating you in any way? As soon as you begin to violate someone, that is the point in which you are messing up. It is the point in which you can definitely say sin has entered in.
I'm just thinking, and I'm thinking out loud. I believe that I agree with you 1,000,000% that the church needs to align and come with the culture, understanding that things change. Everything don't stay the same. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3 that there's a season and a time for what? Everything. Yeah. So that's letting us know that everything is not going to stay the same. Things are going to change. And if you go all the way down to the end of the verse, it said, what will be, will be. Ain't nothing we can do. So either we're going to go along with the change or we're going to stay behind. Back in the day, churches said women can't preach. Women are not allowed to be in the pulpit with pants. Mm-hmm. God forbid, you're going to hell. You can't wear earrings. You can't do this. And now they're changing with the culture when it comes to those things. But what about when it comes to the sexuality of a person? Saying like, hey, I'm a man, but I want to dress like a woman. And we demonize that and we say, oh, you're going to hell. But the same person that's telling me I'm going to hell is the same person that's sleeping with them. How do we learn to just be who you are and be real and stop with all of this? You're going to hell, but now you're caught sleeping with them. And now you're making bases. Well, they did this to me. They did that to me. And we got this Me Too movement. Everybody's coming out. They're saying this happened to me. This person touched me. This happened to me. So when do we just come to the point where either we're going to change with time, we're going to be real about our feelings, emotions, sexuality, be transparent, and understand that these are people too. I always say, I don't care. I don't care who you sleep with. Hey, what does that have to do with me?
Right.
It's not putting no money in my pocket. Right. It's not paying no bill. It ain't buying my daughter no Pampers, no wipes, no pull-ups. It ain't getting her hair done. It's not getting her a new outfit. So I think that the narrative of the approach of how we come and talk about sin or sexuality, it needs to change. Because my mother always say, when you're pointing a finger, you literally got forward pointing back at you. Mm-hmm. So I can't base my life on what somebody else is doing unless I look at myself. I might not be whatever you are, but I got some stuff. And my stuff might not be on Front Street because I like I said, I turned a little bit doing them 6, 7, 8 months and years. And I learned how to mature and say, okay, I don't want my life to be out on Front Street. And I just said this morning to somebody. You remember that back in the day, you didn't do certain things because you had a mama and a daddy and you had a family that you didn't want to embarrass. I said, I think that we need to get back to that as a people, because I have a mama and a daddy. They might not be famous or whatever, but I respect what they taught me, what they put inside me. Some of the stuff I don't believe anymore because I've come to the true knowledge of myself. Like, this is not right. This ain't right. Some of the stuff I grew up in church and learned, this not right. This ain't right. This don't match. This don't come together. And I think that if we learn to just accept people for who they are, because I don't care whether you're gay, pedophile, whatever the case may be, nobody deserves to get beat up. Nobody deserves to die or to be treated different or less than because of what they are or because of what they choose. The Bible clearly tells us that we're supposed to love. So how am I loving you, but I'm hating you and telling you you're going to hell because you choose to be this way? That ain't got nothing to do with me.
I don't know if I'm gonna throw pedophilia.
Yeah, I don't know about pedophiles. Yeah.
I mean, well, you know how I feel about them, but I'm just doing it for the sake.
No. I ain't doing nothing for the sake.
You know how I deal with that. You already know how I deal with that.
No,
I'll beat the life out of you. My kid.
But think about it. Okay, so what do we do when it becomes norm? When it becomes the norm?
And it's coming.
Right. No, so what do we do?
It's coming. There's no question, but we have to understand this. Pedophilia. Well, let's really think about this. Pedophilia has always been a rich white man's game. Number one.
Ooh.
It's always been a rich white man's game.
You have proof.
And the minute black people decided to take part in it, guess what happened? They got locked up. Look at R. Kelly, prime example. And the reason why pedophilia is coming into play is because they're trying to monetize it. All of this stuff is about money. It's about social engineering and money. They're trying to monetize the same way they monetize homosexuality. It's the same way that they monetize the Black Lives Matters movement. It's the same way they monetize anything that becomes socially huge. They're going to find a way to monetize it. Now, my thing is, just because they monetize it doesn't mean that when you act out that law, that is going to apply the same way to you as a black man.
Right.
Trust that.
Right.
Because it really is about money. It really is about money. We can do the same things that a white person does, and they'll look at it like, I'm sorry, bro, you going to jail. I'm like, but he just did it. That ain't got nothing to do with you. So we have to be very careful with that. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming, but that doesn't mean it's coming for us. It's coming because it's a rich man's game, and they have to find ways to stay out of the prison systems that they make money off of.
And I will agree to that, and I will add to that it's not just the rich man's game. It's for people out here who have fantasies. You never know who's next to you and what they think, their creed, their background, what they like. Some people just like dominating other people. Some people like manipulating other people. And that's why I said earlier, look, I ventured into some things that my mom didn't want me into, and knowing what I know now, I wish I didn't venture into those things because I wasn't ready for it. You don't understand. If you open a door that you're not ready for, you don't know what's on the other side of that door. Now, I don't agree with pedophilia, but I do know, working in the field, that's probably going to wind up in a DSM-5. It's going to be a mental health case, and they're going to be like, oh, you're discriminating against me. That's how it's coming. That's how it's coming. We don't have to like it, but when you open the door to something, and I'm not saying that somebody else's lifestyle is bad or poor, but this is how it comes. You said it right. It is about money. Deviant fantasies are no longer deviant once I can profit off of it. And unfortunately, sexuality without boundaries is profitable. And you know what side is profitable? It's no longer the beautiful beauty of it. It's the deviant of it.
And then that's where we have the problem. The problem is when we talk about pedophilia means that you're violating the right of a child, because the child doesn't have the child doesn't have the ability to consent, because they're not equipped to make that decision yet. So that is violation, and we have to be careful because, and when I say that it's a rich white man's game, what I mean by that is that it's something that they can get away with.
Right. I understood you.
So, we have to be so careful. Yes, it's definitely coming. And the other part is, we have to watch and see where sex is meant to be free. It's meant to be open. It's meant to be enjoyed openly and freely. If we even look in the scripture, I believe it's Ruth. That's how Ruth got her man. Ruth, like, let me show him a little leg. Let me show him a little thigh. Let me be a little sexy. And they catch his eye.
She was working in the field. Don't be coming for Ruth when she was working in the field.
Hey, listen, I wish my Ruth would come and work in the field like that. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing wrong with being sexually attractive. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing. It's like when a peacock shows its feathers. When that peacock that's their version of what a woman would do or what a man would do to get the mate to realize, like, hey, look at me, check me out. I know you want me. That's what that's about. And my thing is, we have to grow to the point, we have to mature to the point where we are not afraid of sexuality. I think if we would have been taught younger how to responsibly deal with sexuality, we would have been much better along. Like in the last show, I lost my virginity at 11 years old. I lost my virginity to a 24-year-old woman. My cousin set up a situation. My cousin was a pimp back in the days. He was drunk. His people was high. He was like, yo, go hit my little cousin off with something. And that's how it went. That's how it went. He wasn't meaning no harm. He thought it was funny. He was high.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
what do you do to those? I said, what do you do to those who's been molested or raped and they never told anybody? You know what I'm saying? What do you do? What do you do that now they're repeating what happened to them, or they're using or doing the things that happened to them to somebody else? What do you do? We and it like and Nakia, I tell all the time, I'm 30 and I was 12, and my adopted sister used to take me in the basement and make me eat her out every day. I never told my mom, because my cousin, because we had very sexual people in our family, my cousin got me addicted to porn at an early age. You know what I'm saying? I never shared this openly, but help somebody at the end of the day. So what do you do when now you see these things that you're not supposed to see, that you're supposed to be quote unquote covered from, that we never had these discussions about? What do you do when your stuff gets hard? What do you do when you feel what do you do? I like that boy. I like that girl, or mommy, I feel this way. What do you do? First thing they do, go sit down somewhere. That's a demon. Come here. Let me get the oil. Let me lay hands on you. And there's just some things that you cannot pray away. You need to talk about these things. I'm sorry. I've been brought up. I'm telling you, they brought, yes. He cut on my come here. I bind that demon. It's not a demon. It's not a demon.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I don't want to end up going.
No, go ahead.
Because at the end of the day, the way we help, it all starts with a conversation.
Right.
No matter where you are on the spectrum. No matter where you are on the spectrum, it starts with a conversation. And as long as we can have open, honest conversation, then we can get solutions. Not just answers, because Christianity has a whole lot of answers, but not necessarily solutions.
Solutions.
We can get solutions, and we can help each other along the road. Yes, some people have been molested, and they don't want to live passing that on to anybody else. They don't want to do that. So let's openly talk about it. Hey, listen, this class is specifically for people who may have been molested. And when you come, your identity will be protected. We also have to make sure we protect people, because the reason why they don't come out is because they don't feel protected. And in the church love a good tea. Church love a good tell all.
Gossip.
And my thing is, it can't happen like that. There has to be some type of privacy to help protect these people, because you're dealing with them psychologically. You're dealing with them emotionally. You're dealing with unraveling years of pent up emotions about situations that they may not have even had to deal with for years, but mentally they replay it in their minds over and over and over. So it keeps them almost like they've relived the situation right then and there. With the conversations, with the privacy, you also bring in a therapist. I don't need, if you gonna pray, you pray while he performs therapy.
Thank you.
While she performs therapy.
Amen.
We need both sides of the fence.
Absolutely.
And when we do that, we can heal the people that have been living as a subculture under our church for years.
Right.
That's been living. I mean, and at this point, the church has become so blatant with it. It's just a blatant thing now. It doesn't even matter. You have people who are turning people out and talking about it openly. You have people turning people out, and it comes up in the courts, and it comes up in the newspapers. And I'm not going to mention any names, but we all know. You know what I'm saying? And we're living in a day where we have people like Larry Reed who's going to report what's out there. We living in a day where you got a King Giles, where you got a William other guy. You know, we're living in that day where the church, it's just time to be open and honest. Without it, we're gonna witness how the church will continue on a downward decline.
But you know what they say, brother? They say this. I heard somebody say this to me. A pastor actually said this to me. Well, why do I need to tell them my business? Or why do I need to be honest about that? Because you can help somebody.
A pastor told you that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because when Nakia knows, I don't know if y'all know, but Nakia knows I used to put people on blast. Like I was like, they call me Larry Jr. So I put people out there because I came to the point where, can we just be honest? Don't tell half of the truth. We got people that get on interviews, they tell half of that. They don't want to tell that they used to be a homosexual. They don't want to tell that they still struggling with homosexuality. My saying is, and I always say, don't allow your past to be your present. And that's the reason why a lot of people are getting caught out there, because they ain't dealt with their past. I agree 1,000,000%. We need to have conferences so that way we could deal with the monkey in the room. Hey, I'm gay undercover. So how do I fix it?
I don't know if we need another conference, but I think
they love saying that. So use something that'll draw them to their attention. Talk about STDs.
What's going to draw people's attention is realness. And I think the problem is that realness has left the building, and we have been used to performance, and we're not accustomed to realness. We want to be on this emotional high, and then on top of the emotional high, we want to idolize everybody. We put all of these men and women up on these high pedestals of idolatry, and we do not even, I'm certain some people probably got pictures of their leader in their house. The devil is a lie. I would not. But the problem is that when we do that and we have removed the realness away from what's really going on out here, what's really affecting people, we do not heal what needs to be healed. And we do not set free what needs to be set free. And this is not just on the realm of the church. This is all across the board.
Yeah, culture.
When we forget
culture,
realness,
yeah,
we are living in a society right now that does not like to deal with reality.
Absolutely.
And because we live in a society that does not like to deal with reality, we want to deal with the world as in this idealistic form of a world that does not exist.
So,
because of this, I'm in the world, but not of the world. So I don't got to deal with those issues. You come in here. I ain't even talking about the church. I'm talking about as a whole. We deal with an idealistic way of viewing what's going on.
Well, I have to go back to what the gentleman said earlier. I don't think that culture, society doesn't want to deal with it. They're just waiting to profit off of it. Because we are dealing with some things. And some things they're not at the forefront. Why? Because they're not marketable. It's not like you said, it's not good to, not unless you're getting a fat check for a movie or something. It's not good to come out and tell your flaws or your experiences. It's just not good. Why? Because you're being vulnerable. People know your business. We haven't been taught how to be vulnerable. Especially black males, be tough. What you crying for? I feel this. No. Let me crush your vulnerability right there. And it's the same thing with sexuality. Look, no, this is how we operate. This is how you're going to operate. This is what you do, and why? Because this is just what you do. There is no expression. There's just law, unwritten law, unheard of law, non-verbal law. However you want to form it. It's just law. This is what it is. This is what's going to happen. Like I said, the gentleman said earlier, some things aren't addressed until one, they've made society's made their money, and two, it's no longer profitable.
So when we deal with the confines of and the reality of the situation, which is how your beliefs begin to structure your sexuality. How do your beliefs begin to structure your feelings, your thoughts, your behaviors, how you literally move within a society, how you formulate your attraction, and how you allow your body to be able to seek pleasure, right? Because that's what human sexuality is, how your body seeks pleasure, how you formulate your reality, which is your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, all that stuff, how you become attracted to other people, whichever way that attraction is. How do we go from a place of being restricted into being free? Because that's the key. Because when you view yourself, especially within your sexuality, from a standpoint of what you believe, your belief system, your belief structure, your faith, right? You have this one set of guidelines because this is what my sexuality is supposed to be. But then that might not be your reality. How do you then move into a place of freedom and acceptance and love for who you are? And this goes beyond. This is not about homosexuality. This is not about pedophilia. This is not about none of that. This is just the basic makeup of you as a person. How do I move into being free, into accepting who I am?
I would say I don't think that I was ever restricted. And when I thought I was restricted, I wasn't restricted. So now that I understand that I've been free all this time, I seek restriction because some of the things that I think attract me aren't necessarily good for me. And when it comes to my beliefs, there are things I like. I like tall girls, no makeup, natural hair. I just like them. That's just what I like. But they ain't good for me. Something just happens. It's not necessarily it's something bad with them. It's something bad with
all people natural. They just not good for you.
No, I'm just using this as a point. I'm using me as a point. I've come to the point where in my age, and I'm 35, I don't really know what I want. I thought I liked somebody who was smart. I thought I was attracted to someone that was very intellectual until they told me something I ain't like. I was like, well, I ain't really attracted to that no more. But like I said, I'm still experiencing, and I appreciate my beliefs because it's causing me to seek restrictions so I can see what truly is important.
Okay.
I think what we have to realize is that beliefs evolve.
Right.
You know, evolution is a part of that. Beliefs evolves. You do not hold the same belief that you did when you was 12 that you have at 30.
Right.
You know, beliefs evolve, and we have to learn how to give ourselves room to evolve. We have to give ourselves room to understand that, hey, listen, there are certain stages to this. And in my 20s, hey, I was at a certain stage.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my 30s, I'm going to be a certain stage. But when you reach in your 60s and 70s, you'll be in a certain stage. And those things that apply to you in your 20s won't apply to you necessarily in your 70s. So you give yourself room to grow. Give yourself room to evolve. There's so much about us and our sexuality to explore. Allow your life to be lived like you're exploring this realm. Explore who you are. Explore who you are under certain conditions. Allow yourself to grow. Allow yourself, and it's not always going to be comfortable.
No.
Because growth and comfortability cannot reside in the same area. Growth demands that sometimes there's going to be some uncomfortable situations. Sometimes you're going to have to really deal with that. Is it possible to be in love with two people at one time?
Right.
Is it possible that I don't, like you just said, I don't like the intellectual anymore, but I just want someone who has just an awesome body and like I just want to look at you all day. You know, men, women, we all go through changes. Allow yourself to go through the change.
You ain't just gonna stand there and look at me all damn day.
I mean, hey, listen. You're an attractive woman, so you know. Some men will just do that.
You better find something to talk about.
You do want to be heard. You do want your voice heard. You do, you know.
Look,
this is why I need another woman up here, because what y'all not about to do.
It happens with females too.
It's facts. I mean, what do you want us to do? You ain't ugly.
Shut up, Corey.
It happens with females as well.
Facts.
Oh yeah, you know it. Don't let no man put on no gray sweatpants in the summertime.
Yes,
come on now.
Don't wear gray.
Don't walk at the pool. Don't walk at the pool. Jump up from the side of the pool.
Right. On the side, and here's your towel. Act like you know better. Okay.
You see?
Act like you know. Okay. Don't be showing off your physical sexuality for the world to see with some gray sweatpants.
Look,
sometimes you gotta bless the world with a side of heaven. Like, listen.
Yes.
Ain't no heaven in that.
There's glory there. Don't be fooled. There's glory there. There's glory there.
That's what they like. You gotta be careful. You might not like it, but somebody else might be like, "Thank you, Jesus. I waited for this all day."
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
They'll go to the beach just for that.
Mysterious ways.
Right. They'll go to the beach just for that.
They go into the pool, can't even swim.
And they get in the water just to get saved. You know what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying?
Help me! You know.
And what's really great about it is that it's all okay. It's okay. It's okay to feel aroused. Like, we demonize people being aroused. That is how God made us. That is part of our makeup. It's okay to be like that. If you are not aroused, then usually you can say there's something not really working right. It's not working correctly. Something. When a man or a woman loses their libido, it's usually like, hey, how can I fix this? Usually.
Right.
Yeah, I better go get a pill.
They got pills.
Oh, well, thank the Lord.
They got shade.
Lord, I don't need no pill. The Lord is good. Hallelujah.
But we know one person that had a problem. We know one person that had a problem. He had a problem even to his death. Look at David. Right. I mean, they had to send a woman there just to see if he was dead. If he was really
I don't know necessarily that was a problem. I don't know if that was a problem.
I don't want to say it in that sense, but you know what I'm saying. His how do you
Overindulgence.
say his norm? It was his norm. So it's his norm. You know what I'm saying? To answer your question,
I mean,
I agree with
Solomon
both.
had thousands of wives, concubines.
Yeah,
Ah, ah, ah.
I
You
mean,
know what,
Like father,
Jamel?
like son.
yeah.
And then there was Jesus. Okay, get it together.
You know,
Well,
to
hey,
answer,
listen. We don't know how Jesus interacted with women.
You
We
know
don't
what?
know.
Ain't nobody
And
asked that.
truth be told, we don't know. And the truth of the matter is, Jesus falls in that Davidic line. So we
We
don't know.
saw.
We don't know how Jesus was reacting.
and how they
It doesn't
reacted
say.
to him. You heard what you said. Sleeping with the
Listen, you know the women was loving
piano
Jesus.
player.
now, mind you, now I'm gonna throw this out there. You already know that every time you've seen something, he was always with what the woman at the well, the woman that got caught in adultery. He was all, you know what I'm saying. He always has a little situation, but you know,
The women
it
loved
is what it
Jesus.
is. You know
Women
what I'm
love
saying?
They
Yes,
did.
they did. Yes, they did.
They
The
did.
woman,
They
the woman that
loved the Savior.
the
They
woman
loved him
went
as a man
and all
too.
she had
Think,
You know what?
touched
think
the hem
about
of
this.
his
Oh my
garment.
God.
Think about
Right.
this. And nobody really ever
But
talks about this. We always talk about Jesus in this wonderful divine state, but he was also human.
yes, he
And
was.
in order to be a rabbi, because they did call him rabbi, in order to be a rabbi, you had to be married. So don't think Jesus wasn't getting some. Don't think he wasn't getting some. He was getting some from somewhere because he was a rabbi.
Well, to
Rabbi.
answer your question, to answer
See,
your
now I
question,
got quiet. The Saints is running from this. The Saints is running from this.
I'm gonna leave that
I hope
alone.
he's not.
I'm gonna leave that one alone too.
I'm gonna leave that alone. I ain't getting in trouble.
Jesus
But to
was
answer your
a
question,
great teacher. Sweet.
to answer your question, I agree with both of my brothers here. I would say that we're forever learning.
Right.
That we are forever learning. I say this all the time. I live my life with no limitations, and the reason why I live my life with no limitations is because I don't want to miss a learning experience,
Mm-hmm.
a lesson, a hurt, a pain, whatever it is. And I think that it has to really go to the individual because everybody's makeup and everybody's DNA is different. So whatever works for them, just don't stop learning and don't live life with restrictions because you're gonna miss something. You might miss her, you might miss him, you might miss the car. You know, you might miss something, and I just say don't live life and enjoy it because what you might regret that could have been something. Okay, here we go. I've been on both sides of the coin where I dealt with somebody I liked and I dealt with somebody I didn't like. I don't know if you ever did that, but you know how you dealt with that girl that you like. She's ugly. You know, I don't want her. She ain't it. And I did that. I'm not going to say where, when, how, but I did that. I know you're gonna hit me up later, but I did that. Actually, I told you. I think I did. I told you. But anyway, I did that. Right. Forgive
Off the
me,
muzzle.
but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? It's the truth. You said take the muzzle off, so we're gonna be real. We're gonna take it off and be real. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I don't know if y'all ever been through this, but you know how you embarrass and you like you don't want nobody to know that you mess with them. So you know, you just put them on the side. You be like, listen, come at nighttime. Don't come during the day. Make sure nobody see you. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you erase all the messages. Don't keep nothing in the inbox. You know, am I the only person that's been there? Because
Nah.
I know I'm not by myself.
It's
You know what I'm
normal.
saying? And then I need your phone to make sure you erase all the messages so you ain't got
I
no
never
receipt.
did that.
Thank you,
what I'm
Jamel. Somebody ain't never did something around these parts.
Come on, bro.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Man.
That's not my testimony.
You know what I'm saying? I did that. And I'm being real. I'm taking the muzzle off and I'm being real and I'm being transparent. I'm being honest.
Go ahead.
So
Take it
I
off.
did that. So I've said to myself, okay, that's not cool. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a daughter. So I won't want nobody to do that to my daughter. You know, so the seeds we sow, it goes. So I say that we're forever learning. Take the limits off. Learn from the mistake. And don't do it again to say, oh, forgive me, God. I repent. No, learn from it and be like, nah, I'm good. That's over. I did that. I learned from that. That's it. Like you know the strip club story. I told you a strip club story. You know what I'm saying? Went to the strip club, preaching. a preacher preaching in the pulpit. Okay,
I mean, a
and I'm
lot
not
of
gonna
y'all
lie.
go to the strip clubs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna tell you
I
the
used to
truth,
live
right?
there. Praise the Lord.
I'm preaching.
Preach.
Preaching in the pulpit, singing, playing the keyboard, preaching everywhere. It's right here in Patterson. I used to live in Jersey, right? And can I keep it real?
Keep it
When I
real.
would go to the strip club, I would feel peace. No lie. No lie. I would feel peace. I'll be like, yo, I'm chilling. For real.
Over
Real
there
talk.
having peace at the strip club.
Like,
Yes.
like no chaser, just keeping it real. I would be at peace. Like, yo, I'm chilling. Like, I don't got to worry about nothing. At least I thought. Cause I'm gonna tell you what happened. So I'm in there, and I told Nikki, I told this story a lot of times. So I'm in there chilling, bro. Have my little nice button up, with my jeans and church shoes. That's how I dress. But I was doing my thing. Have my ones, what I'm saying? Would get paid, get my whole check, go up in there, what I'm saying? Do my thing, go in the back room, what I'm saying? I'm keeping it real, champagne room and all of that. So I would do that. And the girl came out. I never forget. She came out and she says to me, "What are you doing here? Don't even know me from a can of paint." I'm like, "What the hell? I'm in here doing like everybody else. What you talking about? You don't look right in here." What? Bro, I'm at peace right now. You killing my high. You killing my peace. You killing me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't get enough. I said, I'm going back. My mother lived right around the corner from there, you know what I'm saying? I would get up late at night, I would go, and what got me was a woman. I went to the store, was trying to go get me something to eat, saw this girl, I was like, yo, you pregnant, you look good or whatever, right? She's like, I'm not pregnant. So I was like, oh, what's up? She's like, I'm at work. So I'm like, where you work at? Strip club. Never been in my life. I followed her to the strip club. That's how I got addicted. Okay, went there second time. My boy, I went to school with, he was like, he used to call me Rev in high school. He was like, yo, Rev is in the building. Never went back again.
In the strip club being called Rev. Look at that.
You know what I'm saying? So I learned my lesson.
I think that's going to solve a lot of our issues.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So you got to live. I did some other stuff, but I ain't going to tell it all here. But, I experienced a little bit. You know what I'm saying? No, I ain't doing that. They ain't ready for that. But, you got to explore life.
Right.
And not to say, oh, okay, we say this is wrong, that's wrong. Oh, I wonder what Corey did. I wonder when the key. But my thing is, by you limiting yourself and saying, listen, don't do that, don't do this. You never know you don't know what you like. You don't know what you will enjoy.
Right.
I tried drinking. Drinking is not for me. Smoking is not for me. I don't like liquor or non-alcoholic beverages, like the ones that don't have liquor. The non-liquor ones. Yeah. I can't drink. Drinking is not for me. So I did that. So I think that you at least have to do something once to have the experience to see if this is something that you like. Period. I mean, agree to disagree, but how you know what you are? You're forever learning.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You might go to the park and pick up pennies, and somebody might say, "What the hell? They crazy," but that's something that they like. And we got to learn to just let people live in their moment, because you don't know what that moment is doing for that person. So that's how I answer that. Forever learning, moving forward, and don't live in restrictions. So that's how I answer that.
That I think you answered that on the nail. As far as learning and experiencing, we're talking about sexuality. What happens when sexuality is misused? We don't talk about some of the mistakes. We don't talk about some of the mistakes because we didn't live. I know, speaking for me, maybe I shouldn't have got married and I wouldn't experience that divorce. But some things have to run its course. Why? Sometimes it's for you, sometimes it's not for you. And like you said, I didn't get called Rev in the strip club, but where I was, I got called some things. And it's true. It's an experience. Even with people who express sexuality different from us, in whatever way they want to express sexuality, some things have to run its course.
Absolutely.
You might not want it to, but you're on the outside looking in. I can't tell nobody on here how they should experience sexuality. Why? One, I'm not you. I don't walk in your shoes. I wasn't raised by your parents. I don't have your life experiences. I don't even know what's your favorite food. I don't know what makes you hurt. There is so many things. Only thing I do know is that we're having a conversation right now. That still doesn't mean I'm an expert on you. Only you're an expert on you.
And like even the weirdest things, like there's some people who like ketchup on their rice, on their eggs. To me, that's like, oh heck no. But
that's a Caribbean thing.
You know what I'm saying? What what could I do? Love people for where they at. You know, I'm not here to judge you. I'm gonna love you for you at where you at. But what I will not go for is people who are hypocrites. And what I always say is, and that's what people talk about, why you put people on blast? I will put you on blast when I know that you are a preacher and you are damning homosexuals, you're damning other things that you are doing. Just be honest in who you are. And maybe you can help them. We already know the biggest pastor in the world who died, who got caught out there, or whatever case may be. He took the fall for a whole bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is what's going on today, that a lot of people are taking falls when I don't want to take no fall. I'm going to just tell you know what? I slept with Sister Keisha. I slept with Sister Johnson. You know what I'm saying? I slept with the pastor's daughter. I did it. Now I did it. I asked the Lord to forgive me. Now what you going to do? Let's move on. How can we help you not sleep with all these people? How can we help you not be a whore? How can we help you not steal? How can we help you not lie? How can we help you not be a pedophile? How can we help you? Okay? You got to admit, first you got to acknowledge that this is your issue, and then get the help and go through the proper channels and the proper steps to say, you know what? Yo, Nakia, my brother, they helped me through this. I put this one pastor on blast and then I'm done. Last year, he slept, you know, he's in jail right now. He's a pedophile. He's a sex offender.
Are we really doing
this? Yeah, we're taking the muzzle off. And the thing is, I said, the thing that hurt me was, I think that if the people knew, church people knew how to help him and pushed him to get help, he wouldn't be in the predicament that he's in. You know what they say? Well, what if they don't want help? If you're my friend, nigga, I'm gonna push you.
Right.
I'm not a friend to be like, oh, okay, Nakia, you don't gotta help. No, Nakia, you're going. That's it. Because I'm your friend. I'm your friend. So if I'm your friend, I'm gonna push you to go. I don't care if you don't want to go. You're gonna get help. Because that's the problem. We are always not helping, but we just letting people be, oh, they don't want help. No, you're gonna get help because you need it. And sometimes you need that extra push. You need that extra hard person to be like, listen, let me go get you some help. And I think that if we knew how to just take people and push them to get help, we wouldn't be in the situations that we're in today.
But that ties into what Marcus just said about what happens when sexuality is misused. That is a misused sexuality. When you fall into the act of being a pedophile, when you fall into the act of being a rapist, when you fall into the act of being a bigamist, being an adulterer, being, that's when your sexuality, an opportunist, right? But that's when your sexuality is actually being misused because you have not learned within the own confines of your life who you are, really and truly. You have, as far as pedophilia, they do consider it to be a mental illness, right? One who suffers from pedophilia. So you have a attraction to someone that is a child, right? Childlike, right? So when you deal with that, I can't force you to go get help for your issue, but I also don't have to cover it up and I don't have to condone it neither. Because what happens is when sexuality is misused and we allow it to go on and we know about it, and then it begins to affect other people, we're now then shaping their sexuality. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's the part that I have an issue with. That's the part that I take issue with, because it's, if you don't want to go get help, that's on you. However, but when what you're doing affects another person, and that goes back to what Jamel said when he started talking about a violation. That's a violation. You just violated someone whom could not basically either speak for themselves, stand for themselves, consent to give you permission to do, or anything like that. You have a lot of people that look at people and think that, well, because they said this, that meant that this was okay. No, it was not okay. It was never okay, because we actually have laws in place that protect children from not being able to make adult decisions before a rightful age in order for you to consent to certain things. And I believe that when we begin to deal with the misuse of sexuality, when we begin to deal with, you have men and women alike that say, I was raped. And because I was raped, I don't trust a man. Because I was raped, I don't trust a woman. Because I was molested, I don't trust this one. Because I was molested, I don't trust that one. Because they beat me, I don't trust this. We have associated a lot of things due to our sexuality being misused and misappropriated. And now the trickle down effect is the fact that I now have to deal with a warped sexuality until I am able to form it back into my own personal natural state of being, to understand who I am, to understand what drives my thoughts, what drives my feelings, what drives my attraction, because I might have been violated at a young age. So I got taken off course a little too early. You know what I'm saying? That's the part where I'm saying, oftentimes we don't like to deal with certain things because it's a taboo subject, which is why for so long in the realm of our belief systems, we have not fully taken a deep dive into sexuality. And we haven't taken a deep dive into sexuality in the social construct, because we always just want to view things as black and white. We never want to understand that there is gray everywhere. And until we begin to literally take the blinders off, and until we honestly begin to take the muzzle off of our mouths and have open and honest conversations about sexuality, there is nothing wrong with it. It is natural. Even the truth of the matter is that, like I said earlier, if you truly study in biblical context, pedophilia was actually normal. It's in our current way of defining things where we have turned it into something. Look at Esther. She was a child. It was normal. But we don't want to deal with the aspect of cultural norms that turned into societal abnormalities. When you truly think of African culture, it was normal for a child to be married at the age of 13, and the child was not marrying another 13-year-old.
Right.
These were cultural norms that we have now formulated into societal abnormalities. And because now they are societal abnormalities, we are dealing within a construct of saying, now this is not normal. This is not acceptable. Now, do I personally agree with pedophilia? No. Listen, we just had a conversation with my nephew. It might have been last weekend or something like that. He was talking about maybe, potentially an older woman. And I said, let me explain one thing to you. If she come knocking at the door, understand she's going to get dragged where she's at. Right? Because for me, it is not normal for an older woman to be attracted to a 15-year-old. So if you want to be that bold and act like you're going to be 18, 19, I don't care what, and think you're going to attract this good 15-year-old, I'm going to drag you where you're at, all the way back down them stairs to wherever you think you came from, because that's where you need to go back to. Point blank, period. Why? Because he's a child and he's not mature enough to deal with that level of a situation, right? And I feel that way even today. I am 39 years old. There was this 30-year-old young man trying to talk to me. Sir, I can't relate to you. We're not in the same playing field. Therefore, no, I can't talk to you. You understand what I'm saying? Because
wait a minute, you said you can't talk to a 30-year-old?
No, I will not. No.
Why you so disappointed, Doc?
He wouldn't do it. He wasn't playing his cards.
He all right. He listen, Jamel. Don't he all right over there? Listen, okay. No, I will not. Okay. I done dated. I married one young man, and that ain't happening again. Hello, somebody.
That could just be your experience.
No,
right. All young men are not the same,
and that's perfectly fine.
I lost my chance. You know what I'm saying? Let me stop. Let me stop. I'm just messing. You know, I'm just messing.
And guess what? And this is how we deal with human sexuality in the form of a social construct, because your experiences shape you for where you're going. And that's when your sexuality is misused, it literally can shape you. I have a type, okay? And that type happens to not be a little boy.
Well, okay, so I'm glad you said that.
I think that's disrespectful.
I'm glad you said it. But what happens when?
But wait a minute.
You all right?
What happens when your type isn't good for you?
I already dealt with that type not being good for me. That's why it has transformed and evolved.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand that. But what if that type comes packaged in another way that you think is what you want?
Like what? Like how?
I don't know. I don't know what you're into. He might come tall, light skinned, 32 years old. He ain't 30. He's 32. But yeah, he has the hidden attributes of the thing that you said that you're old, that you're not attracted to anymore. But you don't know that until you experience it.
Mm-hmm.
What hidden?
And every 30-year-old is not the same.
Everybody's not the same.
Listen, I don't
put them on the boat.
Understand what I'm saying. I don't group people into a specific category, but what I am saying is this: maturity does not come just because of you're 30 years old now. Now you're mature. I pay very close attention to conversation. If you cannot hold a conversation with me, I don't want to talk to you. If the first thing out of your mouth is, "Hey, Ma," I'm not talking to you. That's just me, because I don't exactly, and that shows your level of maturity and it shows your level of.
That's a general statement. That's a general statement.
I'm talking about. No, it is not. Not when no grown man approach me. That is not a general statement. Ain't no grown man approach me saying, "Hey, Ma," because you have to. And this is what I'm saying. This is why it's important that we understand who we are, because me being the person that I am, there is a certain level of conversation that I expect to be able to have, and that level of conversation is not attractive to me.
So a person has to come as a finished product in order to talk to you.
No, you just need to come with some intellect in order to talk to me. Do not.
Okay, so how can a person?
We don't need to discuss that because this is open and this is
but no, but I'm just asking a question.
I get a bunch of people coming up in my good inbox.
But listen, we're trying to help the people today. You single?
We're helping the people. No,
they're practicing.
Nobody asked you to put my singleness on display.
But listen, you did it yourself.
Let them explore. Okay.
Anyway, because y'all done took me all the way off, and we almost approached 2 hours, and I was not trying to be on here for this long. This is why Okay,
but that adds with sexuality. How can a man approach a woman? Doesn't have to be you, but a woman that is of your stature. How can they approach you when you don't like mama, beautiful, honey, sweetie, whatever the case may be? How can they approach you? Because people that are my age, they're not mature as me. I'm not going to go to a grown woman saying, "Hey, mama." I'm not doing that. But there are some who do that. And there are good men who got jobs, got themselves together. They just don't know how to talk or the language. So what do you do when you have a man? Let's just say, use me for example. I'm coming to you, got my stuff together, got a good job, got a nice car, got everything together. Mm-hmm. And I want to approach you, but now I don't know how to talk. What do you do?
Can I say something?
Please, Jamel.
I think every man knows who that language is going to fall. Every man knows who they can talk to like that and who they can't. You recognize, there are times you recognize that this woman is out of my league, and either I'm going to step up or I'm going to step off.
Okay.
And if you don't realize that, then that already cancels you out. It already says that you're not mature enough because you don't recognize. If you don't have the ability to recognize when a woman, when you're dealing with a woman, not a girl, not a young lady, a woman. When you're dealing with a woman, there's a certain way you have to approach. That's like it. I'll give an example. We all know there's certain ways that if President Barack Obama showed up right now, we ain't gonna walk up to him talking about, yo, what's up, my nigga? We're not doing that.
Depends on the person.
And that person is not gonna get the response that he would like. And that's the thing. You have to know who you're dealing with. When you're dealing, there was this I wouldn't even say young, she was a grown woman. She was 50 years old. Probably about 5-6 years ago. I went to go see a play called Raising in the Sun. My aunt was like, come with me. I want you to come see this play. I was like, all right, cool. So I'm going, and this woman walks in, and she said, oh, hey, this is Simone. And I'm looking like, what in Jesus' name? What,
in a good way or a bad way?
In a good way. It was like the Queen of Sheba walked in the room. It was like the Queen of Sheba walked in the room. And I knew in that moment, I was like, ain't none of this stuff that I'm used to kicking on work, because that is a woman. That is a woman's woman. That is a full grown, mature, got her stuff together woman. Before I even say anything, I'm gonna have to take my time and get myself together, pull myself up to a certain level. So, I never talked to that woman because I just felt like I was so out of my league. It was just like she's the real deal. You can tell, and a woman can tell when a man is the real deal. If you walking up to a woman talking about, hey ma, not no woman who's 39, you not. And if you are, that means that her mentality. If you are, that means that her mentality is still childlike.
Okay, but let's talk facts and let's talk honesty. Yeah. I'm gonna use you, Nakia, because you 39. You 39. Find women that's your age that are with men that's my age and younger, who are immature, who don't have it together. Then what? Because it happens, because they did something that sparked that woman's interest, and now I'm with Nakia. Now I got her. Come on, you laugh because you know it's true. It's true. And my girlfriend's on here, so I just wanted to say that for the record, because I'm not getting in trouble. I'm just playing. Nakia's my best friend. But at the end of the day, it comes to the point where, what do you do? My girlfriend's 5 years older than me? So it's like, and she looks old. She looks like she's older. She looks really older.
You about to get hurt, son?
I mean, she does. She looks really older. I'm gonna be real. She does.
You say she looks old.
I can take it. I can take it. If you look at her, she looks very older, but she's not. You know what I'm saying? So people would say, how did he get her? You know what I'm saying? I know I'm going to get cursed out later, but
you sure are. I can't wait for this story.
How do you, most of them are going to say, how did you get her? But what do you do when you have people who are my age and your age, Nakia, and here it is, how do you get her? He young, she got the house, he don't, he driving her car while she at work. It happens.
I mean, it does. I lived it. Hello, I married it. But at the same time, you grow from it and you learn from it and you mature from it. I mean, the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, it's all a matter of everyone's mental capacity to handle each other. I personally do not have the mental wherewithal to be with someone that is immature. I'm not raising anybody. I'm not teaching you either. So therefore, I don't have that in me in order to do it, right? I I like to have a wide array of conversations. I can talk about some of the most ratchet things all the way down to some of the most intellectual things. And I feel that anybody should be able to get with me on any level in which I am communicating, period, point blank, the end. And if the only thing that you can, and then spelling and grammar, if you do not know how to spell, I don't care.
Yo, she's a
And
stickler for that.
I am. And he'll tell you, because I will literally
Yes, Lord, because she get on me.
and be like, what are you saying?
Yo, she get on me all the time.
And that irks me, right? So I know me. So I know me well enough to know, okay, there are certain things that I no longer am willing to compromise with and for. That's just where I'm at right now in life. Like, I'm just not willing. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, because you're like that, you'll be single the rest of your life. Guess what? And I will be single and happy buying shoes and handbags and living a good life. Okay. Like it is what it is. You know, there is no, I'm not settling for anyone just to say I have someone. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to dumb myself down ever again in life. Okay, just to say, you know what, we can grow together. No, be grown so that we can build together. I don't want to just grow. No, we need to build. Okay, because while I'm sitting here waiting for you to grow, now you're stagnating me in my growth process of building, because I'm at a stage right now where I need to build. And I think that's where everybody needs to recognize and realize the stage of their life that they are in.
Right.
And what they personally believe and who they really know that they are. And once you recognize that, you can't just be with any old body. And I'm not going to be with just any old body. And that right there is the driving factor of a lot. I refuse to settle, and everybody should refuse to settle. I tell women that all the time. If you come to me for advice, if you come to me for counseling, if you come to me for, you know, how do you move forward, one of the first things I'm going to tell you is stop settling, period. And that's across the board. That's just not relationally. That's in every aspect. That's for your career. You know, that's for your personal life. That's for all of that. Stop settling, because one of the first things we do is settle, and we never really push ourselves to go beyond that point. And I had to learn that for myself. Everybody, you know, questioned me concerning the situation with my ex. Why was you with him? How could you be with somebody like that? This, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. You were just settling. Even he said it when we went to the good little marriage counselor. I just felt like she's settling. And guess what? You were right. Period. You were right.
Because he did something to spark your interest, or else you wouldn't settle.
Yeah, because I thought he was funny. Let me tell you this. I thought he was funny, and I thought he was funny. We would have open and honest conversations, because it wasn't that he was immature. It didn't have anything to do with immaturity. But he had other issues. Mm-hmm. He had a warped sexuality that caused other issues, right? But I wasn't paying attention to those signs of the completely perverted sexuality. I was just like, oh, you know what, he's funny, and we have conversations, and this, that, and the third, and blah, 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 and oh, we could grow, and then we could build, and we could do this, and that was not what it was. You know what I'm saying? And that warped sexuality is what began to truly show the good signs of all the cheating, all the promiscuity, all the pregnancies, all of that. Mm. And it was due to what? A complete warped sexuality. And the sad part about it is that everything that took place with me took place inside of the church. You know what I'm saying? And the church, this lovely, well, I call these churches around here the Chitlin Circuit of churches, because I am just convinced that I don't know what part of the Bible they come from. I am convinced that they just formulated off of this good Chitlin Circuit, and here we have them. And I call them the Chitlin Circuit because they stink, okay? And I fell into that crowd of that Chitlin Circuit of churches, and it was funky. And I am happy that the Lord rescued me from that, because you know what? The Chitlin Circuit has its needs as well, which is why the people still flock after that Chitlin Circuit. And, you know, I pray them all the best in their Chitlin-ness. I just choose not to be a part of it.
Chitlin.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to be a part of nothing that's funky. I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? I lived it for a little short period of time. That's why don't invite me to your services, because I'm not coming. Don't call on me. Don't do nothing. I'm not going. I refuse, because I don't want to wear that mess. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be around a bunch of people that I don't want to be around that. So, you know, because I know who God truly is, and I choose not to be around stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, that definitely is another topic for another day, because I am going to talk about the Chitlin Circuit, and I don't care who gets upset about it. And that's what I call y'all. And if you're listening, you are part of the Chitlin Circuit, because that's what I call you. And if you have a problem with it, come see me, because I don't care. It just is what it is. The muzzle is off. That's why I told people, like, at the end of the day, you cannot you can't knock somebody for their experience, right? And you also can't shut them up either for talking about it. You understand what I'm saying? And that's part of the reason why I wanted to talk about human sexuality, because I find that we are missing something very monumental in human sexuality as it pertains to us as a people, as a whole. You know what I'm saying? We refuse to view ourselves sociologically, and we've refused to acknowledge the fact that a lot of things that happen in our environment shape us. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the things that we've seen, a lot of the things that we've experienced, a lot of us truly are a product of our environment. And until we begin to recognize and realize that we've become a product of that environment and learn, you know, what's good, what's not so good, what could be changed a little bit here and there, you know, then and only then will we truly begin to wake up and have truthful knowledge of ourselves. Who am I at my core? How do I feel? How are my emotions processed? All that stuff. And it wasn't until I began to deal with Nakia that I began to see myself for who I really am, and what drives me, what motivates me, what moves me, what shapes me, all of that stuff. And a lot of it truly was based on how I viewed myself and how I did not allow myself to be my true authentic self, because I was being brought up within the confines of so many different rules and so many different regulations, and told, don't do this, don't wear that, don't say this, you can't walk like that. Oh, you know what? When you come here, you can't wear heels. You need to wear these little nurse shoes. Oh, you know what? Your suit too tight. Don't wear that. Literally being stripped of my sexuality, and I began to think that something was wrong with it, to the point where I was damn near 300 pounds, not feeling sexy at all. But you couldn't tell me I wasn't sexy, but I wasn't feeling it really and truly on the inside. But on the outside, I was like, I am still here. Yes. But I didn't really feel that on the inside, because I was being literally stripped of my sexuality. And like, as if my sex, like something was wrong with it, like something was abnormal with it. And it's not. And that's why I wanted to have healthy conversation concerning sexuality, because I need us to understand that it is okay. There's nothing wrong with being a sexual being in a human concept. We are humans and we are sexual, and there's nothing wrong with that. We are meant to attract. You know what I'm saying? We are meant to draw. You know what I'm saying? When it says, you know, let God's light shine from you, the light is who are you? What is this light that you exude? What is this being that you exude that will draw men, not unto yourself, but unto, you know what I'm saying? Unto a higher power, unto God, unto whatever. What is this energy that you have? And when what happens is, when we begin to deny ourselves of this light, we're then denying other people of this energy. Sexuality has nothing to do with just wanting to have sex with people.
Right.
It has a lot to do with what feeds you, what keeps you fighting, what keeps you fleeing, and then sex. So that's why we have to have these conversations. That's why, and we have to have healthy conversations, because all of this literally shapes our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And I keep saying it because I just need us to understand that we are not talking about biology. We are talking about what shapes our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors based on human sexuality. And that's why today's was really talking about belief systems. And I wanted to talk about belief systems because sometimes based on what you believe, you can actually alter those thoughts. You can alter those feelings. You can alter those behaviors, because what you believe sometimes can be contrary to what you think, what you feel, and how you actually behave. And then you can sometimes operate within a realm of being bound, and you're not necessarily free. And I believe that a lot of the times, if we truly study things and not just the history of Christianity, but if you truly go back and you study the history of all religious structures, all of them, we will begin to understand why there are so many different questions. Because I'm not going to say issues, because everything is not an issue, but some things draw out questions. There are so many different questions concerning who people are, because when you truly study the history isn't that clean. You know, I can only speak on the history of Christianity, so to speak, because that's pretty much been my main focal point of studying. But when you truly study a lot of other, religious structures, you begin to see that even in that realm, there are a lot of questions that people begin to have, which is why you have people leaving Christianity and they're becoming Muslim. You have people leaving, they no longer want to be Muslim. Now you want to be a Christian. You have people, we have a lot of interconnectedness due to the fact that people have questions, right? And like Jamel said, they're getting answers, but they're not finding solutions. You can answer my question, but that answer doesn't mean that is the underlying solution, right? We learn that in business practices. Okay, we throw out an issue, and then what do? We solution it, because we need to find out what is the best viable solution to fix this issue that we have just outlined. You know what I'm saying? We do that in our service delivery model when we're redesigning systems and stuff like that. We solution, and that's the thing. We need to learn how to better solution and stop just trying to answer crap, because the truth of the matter is the answer is not always the solution. I can answer you with anything. That doesn't mean that that's going to be the solution to whatever it is that you're actually facing. And we have to learn how to do that, and take the limits off of ourselves and our thinking. I think a lot of this turns into play where we have issues because we limit ourselves and our thought. And if we begin to remove the limitations off of our thoughts, we begin to see freely. And until we do that, we will forever be bound by a lot of nonsense that really doesn't have anything. I was reading some of the comments that were coming up here, and some of them, I'll be honest, I did not necessarily address, because everything doesn't need to be addressed, right? Everything doesn't need to have an answer, right? Because sometimes the answer really and truly just causes a whole nother issue, and we're still not solutioning to get down to what the actual comment was, right? So we have to learn how to do that, and we have to learn how to do that and allow people to be free. And that's what I want. I want people to be free. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I need people to be free in their thoughts. I need people to be free in their spirit. I need people to be free in their mind, because the truth of the matter is that we deal with a lot, and when you're no longer allowed to be free in your mind, you literally live in a prison, which then causes anxiety, which then causes depression, which then causes a lot of these mental illnesses are caused due to just being imprisoned in your mind. And you just run around with a whole bunch of darn thoughts, and you don't know how to break free of your mind. You know what I'm saying? That's why they say your mind is a terrible thing to waste. But
I think too, Nakia, a lot of times we're missed the experience of life because of what we've been taught and what we've been brought up on. So we miss experiences. Don't do this, don't do that. You got to do it this way. And there are people who I know personally, they grew up in this one way. This is what it is. You can't do this. You can't marry if you've been divorced. And I'm just like, you're missing out on life. You're just missing out on an experience that either could hurt you or help you make you into a better person. And I think that we miss a lot of experiences because we allow the things that we've been taught not to override them by learning, researching, studying, and looking for ourselves to have our own inner peace, to have our own inner way of not excluding what's been taught, but trying to put some truth to the false, false to the truth, to try to make it make sense. So I think that a lot of times we miss the experiences of life because of what we've been taught. And sex is a gift. It's not a right.
Right.
It's a gift. It's a gift. So we have to learn how to, all of us, male and female, don't give yourself so easily. You have something to give them.
Gift.
You know, you have something to give them. You know, if you get horny, go get you a toy or whatever. Watch you some boy and do what you gotta do. But don't. I'm being serious, and I know I'm gonna get in trouble. I know my pastor see this. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of questions on. I don't care. At the end of the day, it's time to be real. It's time to be real. What do you do with those feelings and emotions at night, at 12 o'clock at night, 3 o'clock in the morning when you wake up?
Drink some
Because I can
water.
pray. I can pray, read my Bible, fall asleep. But guess what?
That's
It's
a lot
still
of
going to
water.
be there.
You better
Right.
drink water. Water is the savior. The water is the spirit of the Lord. And some of y'all
That's
just
for
need to
you.
drink
That's for
water.
you.
Y'all hear
That's
me?
for
Come
you.
on, Mother Nakia.
Let me
That's for
talk,
you.
look, let me talk to this mic. Drink water.
She
Don't-
tells me gallons of water at 3 a.m.
Y'all better drink some
You know what
water
I'm saying?
over here.
Everybody ain't drinking water. Some people
Drink
even like
some
to drink
water.
water.
Go get you
You know
a
what I'm saying?
piece of chocolate or something. Go to Wawa.
Mhm.
When they was 24 hours over here talking about some toys and stuff. Listen here, drink
Why
water.
not? Why not? I mean, what do you expect them to do? And
I don't know.
then they're gonna go on, Deacon Momo see them and hey honey, come on over. You know what I'm saying? You got the sugar daddies out here
Switch
and they
water.
pushing that agenda.
Go to mineral
Huh?
water.
You know what I'm saying? Put a lemon in there,
Marcus. Marcus said, "Minute."
Sparkling water.
Right.
Spring water.
I'm just
Pure
being real.
water.
Go
Distilled
kill the
water.
saying, go kill the egg. I ain't here to judge you because
Hot water.
I'd rather you do that than to go out here and just giving yourself to any and everybody. And
That
now
might
you're
not drink
promiscuous.
water.
I'm
The water
sorry.
might not help.
The water ain't gonna help.
Oh, be quiet.
The water not gonna help. Cold showers don't help.
Boss water ain't gonna help.
Right.
Poland Springs ain't gonna help.
You know what I'm saying?
You know
You know what
what?
I'm saying? This ain't gonna help. You know what I'm saying? It's not gonna help. It's not gonna do it. You know?
You know what?
Like
There are other ways though. You can, because sexual energy is just creative energy, and all you have to do is channel it into other things. You can write songs. You can do art. You can write books. It's really about where we channel our energy to.
right.
And don't nobody in the world, there's not a person on this planet that loves sex more than me. But I also realize that I cannot. I've never been. I had a stage after I had got divorced where I was just like, "Hey, come on,
Knock them off.
here you go. Who want a piece of me?" That's how I was like that after I had got divorced because I was hurt and I was trying to drown out that hurt with sex, with the pleasure of sex. And I came to a point where I had realized like, yo, this is not gonna help. And what I did for 2 years, I think 2 years after I got divorced, for 2 years I had remained celibate. And I began to learn how to control or how to be disciplined in having sex and making those decisions, or who, what women I had sex with, because I realized, like, at some point, number one thing I know is, just like I don't want no woman that's been used by everybody, I'm sure women don't want no man that's been up in everything.
Sure don't. I was married to one.
So at that
see why I drink water now?
He didn't have no water. He needed the water.
Shit, he needed
water. He needed the oil.
I stretch my hands to thee.
I just think, you really, I've learned how to, like, nowadays people ask me, why you work so much? You just,
right.
Look, at one point I had 4 jobs.
Right.
And they was like, why are you working so hard? Because I need to keep myself out of trouble. And while I'm keeping myself out of trouble, I'm making money. So, you gotta listen, because I know me. I know what I like. I know how I like it. And I have to make sure that I'm not just out here ruining a name that I've spent years building up.
See,
and that I'm not out here ruining a reputation that I've spent years building. And definitely that I'm not out here ruining my family name. That's big to me. That's big to me. Because when people look at my family, they look at my family and there's respect on my family name. I don't want to ruin that because of my selfish indulgences. So, and then the other part of it is also just learning how to be discreet. Learning how to be discreet. Everybody ain't gonna be in my business. Everybody ain't gonna know who I'm dating. Everybody ain't gonna know. Nope, you ain't gonna know. And it's not about me being it's not about me being secretive, but it is about me being private. Because I understand if I keep my things private, my stuff can flourish without all the outside chatter, outside noise, outside interference. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us experience horrible sexual situations and horrible romances because there's just too many people who know about it, and then they got so much to say about it, and they speak bad and send all this bad energy, bad vibes, just all this crazy stuff onto you, and you're like, where's all this coming from? And it's because everybody knows all your business. No, as a grown person, as a mature person, you should exercise having some type of decorum, some type of privacy, some type of this is what me and whoever do. You know what I'm saying? And if you do that, you can experience successful relationships, successful sexual relationships, you can experience good things. But once you let everybody in, then everybody comes in and trample it with their energy. You know?
That's it. That's true. What do you do when your name has been, what do you do when you have made your name tarnished? It's messed up. Everybody knows what you did, what you used to do, and what you're still doing right now.
You get out the limelight. You get out the limelight. You work on yourself privately. And then once you work on yourself privately, what happens years down the line, say 2-3 years down the line, yo, where you been? They do this to me all the time. See, I'm a musician, and I'm a pastor. So when they see me, they like, yo, Mel, where you been, son? Yo, I'm like, yo, I'm chilling. I'm good. I'm not in the limelight. I'm out doing what I have to do, and I'm taking care of my business privately. And while I'm doing that privately, I'm working on myself. I'm becoming a better man. I am looking for ways, actively looking for ways to become a better man, a better person. And in doing that, actively looking. Active. And in doing that, what you do, you begin to rebuild your reputation. You begin to rebuild. People look at you like, well, I remember back in the day, but he's not the same person anymore. And then for all those people who's going to try to throw up what you did back in the days, all you got to do is say, listen, I've matured, I've grown, I've done the work. And too many people don't want to do the work. But when you
Mhm.
do the
Come
work,
on here.
it will
Come
repair
on here.
everything in your life. Doing the work will repair. It'll repair
I love that.
your whole life. And I'm just, your reputation won't suffer, and then your reputation will turn into a testimony.
Reputation.
I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. I agree. A real testimony
Right.
Most
from
definitely.
experience. From
Most definitely.
experience.
Most
And,
definitely.
I was on a live
Corey.
last week.
Mm-mm.
What? What?
What live?
No, I was on a live last week, right? And I asked a question because it was a question live. You could ask questions. They were talking about relationships.
See, because
So
I knew where he.
I asked the person. I ain't gonna say no names. I just said I asked the person, what did you learn from your last relationship or marriage that helped you for this current situation? The pastor told her, don't answer that question. And I said, this is why we can't help people, because we don't want to give people what I learned or my experience to help me be better in what I'm trying to do. And I told them, you cannot walk this life or in this world not learning or taking experience from your past and bringing it into somewhere where you're trying to go and say, this is what I'm not going to do. This is what I learned. This is what I'm not going to accept. And you do bring your past learning experience to help you be better in the choices that you make, be better in the relationships that you make. And it really tore me up, because I'm like, wait a minute. So we're not learning from our experiences. We're just out here just doing whatever we want to do. Like, it
No,
was just crazy.
but that ties back to the the concept of human sexuality from a social construct, and in how, in because like you said, it was the pastor that instructed the young lady not to answer, how we are taught in the church that some things we do not discuss openly, period. And we don't discuss it because it's an embarrassment, because it, whatever the case may be. And the truth of the matter is, like Jamel said, we don't discuss it because folks haven't done their work and they actually are still
Come
in
on.
it.
Come on.
So we can't discuss certain things that we are yet still in, that we are actively a participant of, and that we have not necessarily learned the lesson on.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
if there is no lesson learned, there's nothing for you to say.
Right.
True.
Period.
True.
Period.
True.
And honest to God, truth is, and I don't want you to say something, because all you're going to tell me is a bunch of lies, because you truly have not learned the lesson. So you don't need to say anything. Keep your mouth shut. And I wish more of these people would keep their mouth shut and quite possibly stop going live on Facebook with a false sense of a reality that is just not real. Okay? You cannot heal what you won't reveal. Period.
Come on. Come on.
And that's
True.
the thing that we have a very big problem with in the church world, in the secular world, in the world. We refuse to reveal certain aspects, which is the reason why things do not get here. I said this morning, because I was listening to the news, and I was listening to the WHO, the World Health Organization talk, and I was like, you know what, y'all just tap danced around everything that you just said, and I'm sick and tired of y'all doing the tap dance. I need to understand the how, which is the Heal Our World organization. That's what I need. I need them people to start talking, because we're not addressing real life issues. We're not addressing the new normal that we all are about to embark on. And that's one of the things that I find, that in the church world, we fail to address new norms, because we do not understand what the norm actually was compared to where we are at today, into this new norm of life. And what began to happen is that when you truly operate in a realm of a perverted human sexuality, because that's what it is, it's perverted. When you operate like that and you have not been confronted in the fact that it's perverted, it's nasty, and you need some help and you need some healing, because what you think is normal is just, it's not normal. This is not normal. It is not normal. We have women who really think that it's normal for your husband to cheat on you and it's okay. We have men that think that it's normal for your wife to cheat on you and it's okay. We have people that really sit up here and think that it's normal for your spouse, whichever way the spouse may go, to have extramarital affairs, children outside your relationship, to physically assault you, to attack you. And all these things have become such part of a new norm that it is literally deterring us from understanding that this is not normal, it's not right, it's actually an extreme perversion of truth and of facts, and we don't want to deal with that, and that's the problem. And until we have open and honest conversations concerning human sexuality at its core, I am of the belief that part of the issue with the church really and truly dates back to slavery. And it's something that has just been passed down year over year over year over year, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, that we still face today, which is why I call them the Chitlin Circuit. What they really are misinformed and confused people that have not truly been enlightened to who God actually is, because they have yet to really crack open a book. They have yet to really crack open the Bible to fully get the true manifestation of God and all of his power and wisdom. And I believe that if we begin to do that, we will then begin to understand human sexuality a lot better as a societal norm and as a cultural norm, and not just continue to view it based on biology and just want to talk about it from man to woman, because that's not where we're at today. You know what I'm saying? And the sad part about, I done seen a whole lot, and you got men running around here with perms and all this other foolery going on. Their jeans are tighter than women's jeans, and it's a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget those pocketbooks.
They call them man purses.
No, I'm sorry. No.
What they call it? They merces, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that,
No.
What I'm saying is that, you know what I'm saying? We have a lot to unpack as it relates to this. And until
Pastor, I'm telling the truth. No.
And until we have open and honest conversation, where people feel free enough and people feel that they're not going to be judged based on what they say, we will begin to really tackle everything that we truly need to tackle, especially as it relates to human sexuality in the church. I really do believe that, because we have a lot of misconceptions. We have a lot of things that are just not part of the norm. And we have a lot of scriptures that have been truly taken out of its original context in order to shape how people view themselves. And I believe that it's a very dangerous thing. And I believe that it's also a very crippling thing that we do. And I believe that it's time now to start talking about this, and that we stop demonizing sexuality and begin to start understanding sexuality and help people. Okay, because that I am of the belief that we need to help people, and not have people trying to lord over people, trying to exude power over people, trying to control people. You know what I'm saying? All that foolery that goes on. No, we need to educate people in order to elevate people into their proper understanding of themselves. Human sexuality truly forms at the beginning of self. And until we learn of ourselves, who we are, we will truly be lost in the good sauce. And this is why I'm just saying we're going to be lost in it. And we're not going to fully grasp who we are.
Right.
So with that being said, I truly would like to thank all of y'all for joining in on this conversation today. It has truly been enlightening. It has been always eye-opening. And, and we able to laugh while doing it. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to have fun with sexuality, okay?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing, you know, you're supposed to have fun with it. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to talk about it, have fun with it, and be real with it. And I like that. That's part of the reason why I asked y'all to come on, because I like having real conversations with real people that, you know, don't hold no punches, people that, you know, are not afraid, they're not ashamed, and, you know, that we will truly speak truth to power, and be free with it. You know, one of the things I can say is that I like the fact that we truly do take the time to research things out, so that we're just not speaking out of the side of our neck. You know, we're actually speaking from things in which we have, you know, truly researched and truly studied. Just so that everybody out there knows, I did not give anyone any talking points this time around.
None.
Thank you, Marcus. Because sometimes we have to be able to search out information for ourselves, right? And we all were pretty much on the same page with the information that we saw and with the information that we were able to bring. So I did not want to guide the conversation. I wanted the conversation to be free the way that it was.
Limitless.
Ain't no boundaries over here on this side. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate everyone that literally stuck it out with us for this last 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, y'all. I know, because these topics they just so good, and we get on here and we just start talking about it, and we lose track of time. Although I could see it clearly on my screen or whatever the case may be, but you know, I think it's important to have this level of detail within these conversations, so that you can get understand the full realm and the full spectrum of what we're actually talking about. And I think it's a lot of information. But we try and give it to you. We try and give it to you in a way that is understanding for everybody. Okay, so don't forget, we are still continuing with Human Sexuality next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. I am going to have a special guest on next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. as well. And she's going to come to us in her own way. And she is going to have an open and honest discussion concerning her sexuality and how she feels. This is truly taken on a different form now, just for the simple fact that once you begin to open up the conversation, there are people that truly want to join in on the conversation and really give their side of what they've experienced. And I'm actually very excited that she has agreed to come on next week. And I'm excited for everyone to meet her. I have known her for about, I'm going to say 5 years now, and she's an awesome person. And I truly do love her because of her awesomeness, and because of her story, because of who she is. And I think it's going to be great. Because I'm into having open conversations with an open mind and not restricting anything. That is why we are called the Muzzle is Off podcast, because we can't keep trying to prance around things, dance around things. No, we're just going to hit it head on. And this is what we're doing. This is what we're about. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys. I hope everybody has a great night. Do not forget, follow us on Facebook, the Muzzle is Off podcast, on Instagram, the Muzzle is Off podcast. On YouTube, it's under my name, Nakia Monet. I also have a Nakia Monet Facebook like page for anyone that wants to follow. Just follow us, and we're moving forward. We are definitely moving forward, And once again, thank you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, y'all know. Don't sleep. I might call on y'all next week. Just saying, be prepared.
Can I get an extra hour earlier?
No. But all right, thank you, everybody. Thank y'all for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed. Again, follow us on all social media outlets. We're here, we are doing this, and we are taking the muzzle off. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.
Peace.
Don't forget your water.
Right. Mineral. Mineral water.
Mineral water.